Good morning, children. Today we will start a new lesson in history, which is the second part of your history textbook: Weavers, Iron Smelters, and Factory Owners. Now, in this chapter, we'll learn about the story of two industries: textile industry and iron and steel industry. We will see how these industries were very popular and what led to their decline and how they again revived. Okay, so all of you know that Britishers came to India as traders and were buying goods in India, exporting them to England, making huge profits through trade. With the growth of industrial revolution, as I've already told you, things changed. British looked at India for the supply of raw materials for the industries, and over time now wanted their manufactured goods which were manufactured in their factories. They wanted to sell that, so they began flooding it to India and earning huge profits on that. And now, because of the industrial revolution which had started in Britain, it was the first country to start making things by machines, and that is why it is called the workshop of the world, because it was the only country in the world which was manufacturing everything right from buttons to cars, and no other country could compete them. And with the growth of iron and steel industry there and mechanized cotton textiles, it has been called the workshop of the world. So Britain is called as the workshop of the world. Okay, children, now let us look at the Indian textile industry in India. Indian textile was very famous all over the world, and it was the largest producer of cotton textile. So all the cotton cloths that were made in India, and it was very popular all over the world. Why was it popular? Because it was known for its very fine quality. The quality of the cloth was very soft and smooth, excellent craftsmanship. The designs, the colors that were done on the cloth were appreciated all over the world. And it was traded in mostly in Southeast Asia, West Asia, and Central Asia. You can see I've marked it in red. All these areas, the Indian cloth used to be flooded all over, and everyone wanted Indian cloth, mainly because of its very good quality and excellent craftsmanship. Children, we will now learn about the next topic of our lesson: words tell us history. Now, our Indian textile was so famous that just by the name of that textile, people would know that it is made in India. Okay, one such word is muslin. It was so popular in Europe that everyone wanted this kind of a cloth because of its soft quality, very soft quality, and made of cotton. Now, how did the Europeans gave this name as muslin? Now, we will see earlier, before the Europeans came to India, they were trading with the Arabs. Now, you see the Arabs, since they are closer to India, this is Iraq. You can see Iraq here on the world map. And since it is closer to India, they would buy this cotton cloth from India, take it to Iraq on a place called Mosul. They would sell it there. Europeans would come there to Iraq and buy it from the Arab traders. And since it was sold in Mosul, that is why they brought it from Mosul. They named this cloth as muslin. You can see a place called Mosul in Iraq, and they called it as muslin. Okay, that is how our Indian textile got its name as muslin. When the Portuguese first came to India in search of spices, they landed in Calicut, which is today called as Kozak, and the cotton textile which they took back along with the spices, they called this cotton cloth as Calico. And subsequently, Calico became a general name for all the cotton textiles in India. So this is how India's textile got its name as Calico. Earlier we have learnt how it was called muslin, and then by the Portuguese named it as Calico. Another textile which became very famous in Europe was called as chintz. Actually, it is coming from a Hindi word, cheat. Now, cheat, all of you know, when you dip your hand in water and then take it out and sprinkle water on somebody, because it's cheat. isn't it? So they call this cloth which had small flowery designs, colorful flowery designs on it, as chintz. Okay, it comes from the Hindi word cheat, and this was very popular in England, and they were crazed after this kind of printed cloth that was made in India. So another popular word, which even today they call it as chintz. Actually, it is coming from the Hindi word cheat. Another popular cotton textile in Europe was Kozak. Now, Kozak actually is another kind of a cloth which had printed designs, but had the background as blue in color, and the Britishers loved this blue color. So this Kozak also became very, very popular in England, and people were crazy about buying this blue printed cloth. Another textile which was very famous in Europe was called as Bandhana. Actually, it comes from a Hindi word again, Bandhani. It means it's a kind of a fabric in which the fabric is tied, and then it is dipped in various colors and mainly made in Rajasthan and Gujarat. This kind of print is made in Rajasthan and Gujarat. It is called from the Hindi word Bandhani. Yes, it's a tie and dye method of dyeing the cloth and giving it a nice print. It was mainly used by the Europeans for wearing as a headscarf around their head, tying it around the head or around their neck. We see another kind of weaving which was very famous. It was called as Patola, and it was woven on muslin cloth which normally had animal figures on it, and this kind of weave was popular and made by the weavers of Surat, in Ahmedabad and Patan, and this also was very popular all over the world. Another important cotton textile weaving was Jamdani. Now this Jamdani was woven on muslin cloth with decorative motifs. You can see here decorative motifs, normally like your mehndi designs, and they were produced mainly in these areas as Dhaka and Lucknow. A very soft cloth. Mainly it had typical kind of colors as grey and white, and was also made with cotton and gold thread. So this was also very popular all over the world. Yes, so we see how popular our Indian textile was, and they knew it by these names that we have learnt. There were other cloths which the Britishers liked and the Europeans liked, but they did not have any specific names, so they would name that cloth from the place of the origin. Like they would say Kasim Bazar cloth or Charpur cloth, Patna cloth, Calcutta cloth or Orissa cloth. So they purchased these fabrics from these specific places. So now we see how much of popularity our Indian textile had all over Europe, in fact all over the world. People loved the Indian textiles, especially for its fine craftsmanship. They were cheaper than the other kind of cloths that were made elsewhere, and the lovely designs on it, the lovely colors that they were having, especially the blue indigo. People loved it. Children, we have learned so many new textile names, like we have learned muslin, calico, patola, jamdani, then we have learned about chintz, all these. So you can see the popularity of Indian textile in the Western markets. Okay, now on page number 81, figure 3 of your textbook, we see an order book that the East India Company sent its representatives in Calcutta in 1730. Now in the order that year was about 5,89,000 pieces of cloth, and if we look at the order book, we can see there were 98 varieties of cotton and silk cloth. So you can see the popularity. This is an order that they have placed, and these were known by the common names in the European trade as pieces of cloth. And cloth usually used to be worn in India that were 20 yard long and 1 yard wide. This was the kind of cloth that was woven. Okay, and if you see the order book, you had to place an order that was placed 2 years in advance. Okay, because this was a time required to send the orders to India. and get the cloth woven and shipped back to India. So this used to take almost 2 years for any order. You can see how the ships are moving from India then to Britain. So this was a long process. So for every order they had to place it 2 years in advance. And the cloth was so popular, in the Indian cloth was so popular because they loved the floral designs, the fine softness, the texture of the cloth, and they were probably cheaper than the other parts of the world. So the rich people of England, in fact the Queen of England, also wore Indian cloth.